DFS strategy show, waiting to see if YouTube hooks us up.
It's
OBS
the,
and
D-
YouTube.
it's the DFS strategy show, is it?
Well, oh, I'm sorry. It's the DF. I'm panicking because that's what happened earlier today. Is it hiccuped? Nope, we're good. It's the live before lock. I've got all the titles changed. We're set. Here we are. Tweets are out. It's a real deal. We've got 5 games. Super Draft. You may want to get in the contest now because it could fill tonight.
Oh wow!
That I was just checking that out. They just need 800 more. They are locking at 7:30 tonight. They are going with the final 4 slates. We of course will spend the half hour leading up to that 7:30 lock and their lock talking about Super Draft and covering anything else that you guys want from those later games. Tonight everything is spread out just a little bit. We have Utah, Detroit at 7. We have Denver at Cleveland. That's 7:30. We have Atlanta at Memphis. This is when the fun starts. That's at 8. The ABC game of the night, Philadelphia at Golden State. Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Josh Richardson, Steph Curry, Draymond Green. It's lit.
When and they scheduled that, and Klay Thompson, and they are thrilled, no doubt.
Yeah, so they're not playing, but that is the 8:30 game, and then the lone late night hammer, 10 o'clock. Careful, don't forget we're springing forward tonight, so don't stay up too late, boys and girls, because the clock is not going to be our friend tomorrow morning. But that is our 5th and final game. We of course have some news that we'll break down here. Eddie's getting ready to post the rankings, and we of course are sponsored by Super Draft. If you have not yet signed up, use the promo code Awesemo. And when you sign up, and then when you make your first deposit, if you put in $100, they will give you $20 in Super Cash. That is available for immediate use into any contest. I see that I got to fix the scroll here. I've got Adam Scherer with me, but it's not. It's Fast Eddie Fear. So let's fix that. Fast Eddie DFS. What should we call this? Let's call this Live Before Lock. And boom, there we go, fixed. So the fun that we have at hand right now. So let's see. The early game, we have Utah at Detroit. We know that Conley, Brandon Knight, Bruce Brown, all available. So we're good to go there. The next game, Denver at Cleveland. Denver, all solid. Cleveland, not so much. Just got word that Tristan Thompson will play. Andre Drummond will not. And of course, Kevin Porter and Darius Garland were already out. And I'm missing someone. Alfonso McKinney will be in tonight. We have the only questionable is Dean Wade, which of course would impact. I don't know. It'll impact things.
The guy who played Superman.
That's Dean Cain.
Oh,
I believe he was also. Someone check me. I swear I saw an MTV Sports episode. 25 years ago? I believe he was a college defensive back for University of North Carolina. I want to say
this I did
I have
not
no
know.
idea why that's in my mind.
Not that my knowledge of bad television or college football are that great, but I try to know a lot of random crap, and that is random crap that has escaped my previous knowledge.
And yes, Sturkey, I know Eddie's stuff isn't updated yet. He's working on it, and he will push the button shortly.
I was on the radio with Lofty a little while ago, and I had started them, and then I went back and I was watching footage of Portland and Sacramento, and at about like 5:53, I'm like, oh crap beans. So I'm just finishing that up real quick. It'll be there in about 3 minutes, but I apologize. Third time this year rankings not up by start.
We've got that, and we've just got 5 games tonight, guys. So we have plenty of time.
I have no good excuse. No. I like to get to that's very reasonable.
Well, you and Lofty, that would be Sirius XM. That's 3 to 5 Saturdays and Sundays. Sirius 210 XM 87. The dulcet tones of Awesemo Radio.
Wow, very nice. Even the correct pronunciation of dulcet makes me a little bit excited because you get a lot of dulcet tones when people try to ape that particular bit of spankitude there. So very nice.
Yeah, we can't do that. That's sort of like saying for all intensive purposes.
All intensive purposes, you get that one a lot too.
Until I was about 14, I thought that's what it was, and then I read it one time. And I'm like, oh, that's what they've been saying.
And now it makes sense as a phrase.
Yes, absolutely. Right. But Jaren Jackson Jr. still out, Brandon Clark out, Trae Young questionable, dealing with an illness. We do not have information yet, so plan accordingly. DeAndre Bembry questionable with an abdominal issue. And then you've got Cam Reddish has been listed as probable, so he should be good to go. And then we kind of hit on it, but wrapping it up, we have no Draymond Green, no Steph Curry, no Josh Richardson, Joel Embiid, or Ben Simmons, and maybe just maybe Rashawn Holmes could be making an appearance tonight in the late night hammer game. Not that I would really want to play him. He has not played since January 6th. That is, 2 months. So I'm really not excited about that. However, he could provide at least a modicum of defense against Hassan Whiteside, who is on a back-to-back and played 40 minutes last night in a loss to Phoenix. So kind of looking at the overall the games here, the important ones to take note of is Memphis still clawing and scratching, trying to hold on to the 8th seed. You've got Portland, who missed a good chance by losing last night in Phoenix to catch up a little bit. Instead, they lost and played their starters 38, 39, and 40 minutes, 38 for Lillard, 39 for McCollum, 40, as I mentioned, for Whiteside. Portland and 3 other teams are within 3.5 to 4 games behind Memphis for that 8th spot. So there are going to be a few teams still trying down the stretch. Philadelphia, we've learned that the injured Steph Curry is worth about 2.5 to 3 points. Philadelphia is now a 4-point favorite in Golden State.
I mean, he's really not injured, but he's minutes limited. I'll give you that.
Yes, thank you. Not at full capacity. The flux capacitor is not fluxing all the way to the top. Is anyone going to get that one? Maybe.
I would think, yes.
It's an iconic movie.
Yeah,
it's an iconic movie.
I'm gonna guess like half the people in chat got that one. I know it's an old film, but that's pretty pop cultural.
Should be mandatory. Doc Brown, very informative.
Christopher Lloyd, good stuff.
Denver fully healthy.
Yes.
Denver also favored by 9.5 on the road. That's an interesting tidbit I'm going to put in here. Oh shoot, I closed it out. But this is I want to look this up. So this was from Adam's deep dive, and this is the one little free peek I'm going to give everybody. But these are the kind of nuggets that are in the deep dive, and yeah, you guys get to see us in front of the paywall and stuff, but there's tons of good stuff behind the paywall, and a lot of it can
that's
get
why
lost.
they put us in front of the paywall, because we are old and have started to lose our faculties as time has passed us by. So the kids with the maths and their base 12 and their backwards caps, that you got to pay for. But you and me, they run out here, it's like the bearded lady tent that everyone can see in the front of the circus. But the good stuff, the
base
donkey
12
jump.
and base 8, I was not good at.
Ooh,
base 10. Oh yeah,
I'm a base 10 guy myself. I covet the metric system. All right, rankings should be appropriately updated now.
All right, so we got Jokic. In games Mason Plumlee has been active this season, has played 31.4 minutes per game. True. In games without Mason Plumlee, 36.2. I found that just kind of interesting.
It's a little noisy. Because
agreed. But it was an interesting thing. 15%.
Yeah, I would suggest if that was done in a vacuum, as in the exact same games took place, I would put those numbers closer to 36 and 32.5 or 30. Like, it is slightly exaggerated by the downturn on the team at the time where Plumlee was also out. So I think that's stretched a little bit, but it's very relevant. It also coordinates with the fact that many other people were out at the same time, so they just push Jokic more when they don't have other quality players on the court. So when they're also missing Will Barton and Paul Millsap, they also up Jokic for that reason. But the net result is the same in that his minutes do not project to be as high in what is possibly a blowout, and more importantly, be a basically fully healthy team at this point for Denver, knock on wood.
All right, so let's start off with the first game here. We have a few people asking in chat for some value plays. They're excited. So let's tee it up and go. The first one, as we mentioned, Utah and Detroit. This is the lone 7 o'clock game. We have one 7:30 game. I have preemptively just set all of my lineups from 8 o'clock on, so I'm in no rush today. I don't like that today, but I'm okay with it. So Utah, Detroit, Utah favored by 8.
You set them all to 8 o'clock on, so you're eschewing one game or two?
Two, just because we're on till 7:30. This is my backup plan. I'm not planning on sitting it out. I get the reason why,
but that's a sacrifice, my man. I like those last 3 games. I think you can build a good lineup out of them, but I'm not terribly interested in punting 40% of the slate.
As opposed to locking in somebody at 100% that I don't want at 100%, I'm willing to take that chance.
I am sympathetic for you, poor souls trying to play and host at the same time.
All right, so let's talk. Let's go with the Utah side here first.
Sure.
A good matchup in the sense that Detroit not playing a lot of defense. They're down to mostly understudies across the board. We do have Bruce Brown back in the picture. Brandon Knight is healthy. But my question, I guess, is, are you intrigued by Mike Conley? Is it Donovan Mitchell? Is it Rudy Gobert? Is it a dirt cheap Joe Ingles? Is it someone I have not yet named for the Jazz?
Yeah, I like a lot of these guys. Sorry to burst your bubble, 8 p.m. boy, but there's I like a lot of guys in this game. They're just priced extremely well. Now, I don't think having a player from this game is a must. When you look at Detroit, they're home, which is nice, but they're playing what is recently a middle of the road defense, but it's not a good matchup. It's not a fast matchup between Utah playing fairly slow and Detroit playing incredibly slow. So, and then Detroit, your options are Christian Wood in a very difficult matchup with his price now at its highest levels of the season, priced appropriately. Did play fairly significantly in the earlier game between Utah and Detroit back before the Drummond trade, quite some time ago, actually. They went fairly large in that game. He played a lot next to Drummond, so bodied up against Gobert a fair amount. I was not excited with what I saw. Based on his profile, how many of his stats in both points and rebounds, which is where he's doing the most of his damage, come at the rim. I don't like having Gobert out there. Now, Gobert's value as a one-on-one defensive center versus centers is a little bit overstated. He is not the death matchup. I'd rather go against him than Embiid. I'd rather go against him than a couple other players, actually. But it's still very, very good. And the price is very high. So this, as I go to the ownership for the first time today, Paul, can I have some going to the ownership for the first time today music? It's really good. I dig that. Yeah, so we have Christian Wood at 23%. I would come in pretty damn well under that. Now, he's a center, and center ends up being fairly thin. We do have him appropriately owned well less than Rudy Gobert. But not by enough of a differential for me. I like Gobert in this matchup pretty significantly, and
There was a 1 minute ownership update, just in case you didn't get that one.
Oh, let me hit that button.
Gobert's up to 23.9. I don't know if that.
I think it's down to 23.9. Actually, okay. He was more. I believe. I can't know now. I hit refresh. But yeah, we have Christian Wood at 20.5% and Gobert at 23.9. I have Gobert projected to outscore him directly by a point, and he's $600 cheaper, and for a basically no ownership bonus. I would rather play Rudy Gobert than play Christian Wood. The minutes aren't super secure. They've seemed pretty good. They're finally running him out there. They want to see if they're going to keep him around. But at some point, they're going to start playing more Sekou and more of their young guys. Probably not, Henson or something, but I don't think the minutes are good through the end of the year. I'll put it that way. You tell me how many minutes per game he's played the last 5 games. Let's say it's 34. Pick a number out of my butt. I don't think he holds 34 for the rest of the year. I would bet strongly on the under by the end of the year, that they just throw some other guys out there. So nothing wrong with playing Christian Wood. Still at 8K. He projects just fine relative to other players on the slate, but he's, top 10 in ownership. I wouldn't want that much. Matchup is not particularly good. There's some uncertainty in minutes. So if he's like 10%, I'd be like, yeah, 10% sounds good. We've got him a little bit over 20. I don't really want to make that investment in him. Now, everything I'm going to say today is to some degree needs to be taken as a caveat with the fact that there are not a lot of great spend up options. So, I understand getting higher numbers than you would expect on somewhat suspect plays, but that not being one I particularly want to be on. So I would end up under on Gobert.
All right. How about Conley? Maybe a little Jackson. How about Jordan Clarkson for some mop-up duty, etc.
Yeah, you have potential blowout, obviously. Jordan Clarkson, probably my favorite of the 3 cheap options on this team. If you wanted to play Royce or Ingles or Jordan Clarkson, they're all 4K, give or take, I think, $200 on every site. In tournaments, I would play Jordan Clarkson. I don't know what the ownership is, but I'm suspecting it's somewhere in the area of 10%. 4,300 on FanDuel, 4,000 on DK, and in a blowout or not in a blowout is going to play and can bang you out a fairly significant score. So I like getting to Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson, my favorite of those three guys, not taking a stand and saying I want infinite. He's very difficult to predict, but all the pieces are there for him to have a very good game. So Jordan Clarkson, my favorite of those three cheap guys. I can see playing some Ingles on FanDuel for the position a little bit. 5-game slate. If you came up with a couple of Royce O'Neals, I don't think that's a tragic mistake. But this whole team against a really, really poor Detroit defense is in play. I have no issue playing Donovan Mitchell or Bojan Bogdanovic. They're both priced appropriately to be able to nail an upside. You can get 50 out of Donovan Mitchell or 40 out of Bojan Bogdanovic. They're priced just fine. I generally would rather look at some of the faster games. I'd rather play Bogdanovic if I'm going to go fishing on a Bogdanovic today at a cheaper price and a faster matchup. I would just slightly prefer that, but certainly a 5-game slate guys I would have some exposure to. Fairly ambivalent on them, like Mitchell more than Bogdanovic. There's some immediate leverage there too to the Conley play. Same thing. Another good reason to play Jordan Clarkson. You get some immediate leverage there as well. And I like Mike Conley a lot. I've been saying it for a couple of weeks, and he's finally started to come around. But as the years progress, he's looked better. A little weak after the break, but looked really good for the couple weeks before it, and is just underpriced at $5K. Playing his first back-to-back, maybe they limit him. There's some risk there that since they haven't let him play a back-to-back in forever, that now they're like, oh, you can play the back-to-back, but you only get 25 minutes. I don't think that's the case. I have him for 31. And at that price, 5,400 on FanDuel, 49 on DK, so 1,900 over the floor on either site. A lot of interest there. But to get back to Detroit real quick, you have Wood, who I mentioned I am less on than the field. But then you have the backcourt coming back and getting healthy with Jordan McRae stepping in for time and Bruce Brown coming back, who will play 28, 36 minutes. I'm really not sure. And so I really am having trouble accurately predicting the minutes for these guys. Brandon Knight looked great in the 38 minutes he got last game. I have him for 29 tonight. I don't think they necessarily push him that much. And his stock is really oddly risen from someone no one wanted to play. Literally a month ago, I said, I want to play Brandon Knight. And people were like, what? It might have been on a show with you where I remember saying, and my co-host being like, pardon? And I'm like, yeah, Brandon Knight, he's on this team. Exum is out. I think we should do this thing. It's all pre-trade and all this other stuff. But now at this point, he's like 5K and multiple guards are coming in and healthy. And people are like, yeah, I want to work him in there. I'm like, I don't know. Still Brandon Knight. And the other team's Utah. You get that, right? Like that's all happening there. Both these teams on a back-to-back also makes me a little Utah was in Boston last night. Detroit's home here. So they're and then the Pistons
I didn't
are
do the
in
back-to-backs. I'm sorry.
Sorry?
I didn't do the back-to-backs today. I forgot to look.
There are 7 back-to-backs out of the 10 teams.
Denver yesterday.
Denver. I'd have to go through one at a time. I can't spit that out without thinking about it. But Denver, Philadelphia, and Golden State. So the entire Philly-Golden State game, which is my favorite game, but the entire Philly-Golden State game and Denver are on an island. The other 7 teams played yesterday or play tomorrow. So yeah, Detroit sticky for me. Still no Derrick Rose. That's nice. Brandon Knight, I think still technically probable, but everything else is a little. So I can't go with 0. Most of these guys got rankings for me. I think I had to give Christian Wood an A in GPPs because he could still play 37 minutes at center and can still get there and hit a ceiling. Though if I did, I'd probably reduce it to a B at this point, seeing the popularity. But Utah, a lot of interest. Detroit, not so much.
I was looking at next Friday's schedule. That was, someone might say, was bad luck that I clicked on that. I was about to start spouting off back-to-backs from Friday the 13th. We have not yet got there.
I hope you're not triskaidekaphobic.
That would be an issue. But thankfully, no buildings have 13 floors, at least according to the elevator buttons. Or I should say most.
A really deep dive on the lowest projected game. All right, let's move on. People are complaining already. That was like 8 minutes. We have 8 minutes for each game.
And we have time. Sekou Doumbouya is in the G League. He started yesterday. For the person asking.
I think he's back up.
Is he? He did start last night though.
He did play in the G League.
Yeah.
But I'm fairly sure
he's not on the injury report, so I don't know how to read into that.
I think he's back up. I ranked him because I thought he would possibly play in whatever blowout, but it's certainly not a priority. So because of some chance that he's down, and I didn't know he was down in the G League. Usually I catch all those, so thank you for the information. I missed that one. Yeah, I would just avoid it at that point. There's plenty of other 3K guys that I threw in there as a ranking and basically the same position that they would get blowout run, but.
All right. The next game.
Yeah, Utah played yesterday. Detroit plays again tomorrow. They're in Madison Square Garden.
Correct. Denver at Cleveland. Denver has everybody healthy. Rinpack, because he's our buddy. Donta Hall and Sekou Doumbouya have been called up.
They have been called up. Yeah, I was pretty sure I would have known if they were not available because I have a double check for that, but it's in 150 lineups. I'd have 1 or 2 Sekou Doumbouya at the flat minimum. He should play 18 minutes. If the game blows out, he might play 26 and could score 30 and blah, blah, blah. But.
All right. Let's see. Denver and Cleveland. Yes. Denver favored by 9.5. Yes. How do you want to start out with Denver? They are fully healthy. We have a great matchup here for Jokic. Cleveland not particularly equipped to guard him. They do have Tristan Thompson back.
You want Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson was the guy you wanted there. I would like Jokic more if Drummond was in. Okay. Tristan Thompson does a pretty decent job against Nikola Jokic. On both ends of the court, you can get the game out of. What is Tristan Thompson's FanDuel price? 6,200 on DraftKings. I was disappointed because I had some real interest there if he was a little cheaper. Like into the 5s, I would have paid. 6'2" is someone I ranked, so I would still have a couple shares, but wouldn't be any kind of priority. If he was like 5,400, it would have been like okay, let's get on top.
Sorry, calling it up. I've got my big file.
Yeah, no problem. Take your time.
62 on DK, 51 on FanDuel, 22 on Yahoo.
Yeah, 51, which again, more relevantly, is 1,600 over the floor as opposed to 3,100 over the floor. Little bit of interest for me at that OG Anunoby pricing. $100 difference, but basically the same differential between those two guys. I'll look up some data here because I just have textual notes, but generally I've been a fan of how he's fared against Jokic, so I will look at that. But similar situation with Denver where, like Utah, there's not really anyone on this team that you can't fire a shot at. My favorite one in tournaments from Denver is going to be a little bit site dependent, but it would be either Jamal Murray or Will Barton. I will probably go with Jamal Murray for the slightly better matchup. He's just a guy who can run out 45, 50 fantasy points for you. He hasn't done it in a while, which makes me like him more because I haven't seen anything to indicate that it's out of his bag. He doesn't look a step slower. I think it's just the team getting healthy. You get a more natural distribution of points to other guys. So as everyone comes back, the less time you see of Jeremy Grant and Torrey Craig and the more time you see of Paul Millsap and Will Barton, there's just a few fewer shots. But on a 5-game slate, 6,500 on FanDuel, 67 on DK for Jamal Murray, probably gets favored for me. Barton hasn't quite hit the upside, especially well priced on FanDuel and small forward, which is something we like to cover. So that's fine. I like Jokic just fine as a spend-up option, but I do think between blowout and everyone being healthy, the minutes concern is real. So I generally like the other spend-up options a little more than him from a raw points perspective. Monty Morris, probably just getting 22 minutes, but we've seen a couple times recently, even with everyone healthy, gets up towards the high 20s. 4,200 against Cleveland, a little extra time in a blowout, probably someone you can go to. Same story with Michael Porter Jr., probably going to play 5, 8, 10, 12 minutes. This game blows out, could play 18, and he tends to be the alpha on that second unit.
We missed a chance for 2 of the 3 Porter Juniors to go against each other. I'm sad now. I'm legitimately sad.
Yeah, Otto is taking the day off.
But only 2 can be healthy at any given time, and then I'm going to be quiet again.
Oh, that's like the Triforce. Yeah, that's interesting. I would still rather play Millsap than Jeremy Grant. They've recently stepped back from playing Jeremy Grant at the 3 to get him some extra time, which probably is the best idea. So less excited on the whole, I think, for this team than Utah, more because of just some of the pricing mistakes on Utah. I generally rather play Gobert than Jokic. Jokic obviously does have a higher upside because of his ability to triple double and so on and so forth. But at the price, I would generally rather get to Gobert in a single lineup than Jokic. Gary Harris, perfectly playable. Again, has not done the upside thing in a while, but Cleveland is, best possible spot for him specifically. So Gary Harris, 4,500, 4,300, I'd have some shares of. So no giant priority on Denver. As far as the Cavs go, like, I don't want to spend nearly $7,000 on Colin Sexton, but they're playing him infinite time, and he is capitalizing on that opportunity. Pretty big fan of Tristan Thompson on FanDuel now. $5,100. I'm going to set some alerts and check some notes and see exactly what I expect to get out of that man. But he didn't have a sprain or anything. He had what I believe was termed a knee contusion. So usually if you're good to go, you're good to go there. He banged knees, which, can still be sore, but I feel better about that than any sort of like soft tissue injury. So 5,100 on FanDuel. I don't think dude gets owned a lot. Something else I've been talking about and mentioned on the radio with Lofty earlier today. Denver's defense has been bad. And Mike Malone, called them out and said, these are men. I'm treat them like men. They've been bad. They were so bad I went looking for the rankings because in the eye test, they looked that badly. And they're really bad. Like, they're a bottom 5 defense over the last few weeks. They gave up 116 to the Warriors. They've been spanked around by some teams that should not be spanking them around recently. So their defense has really fallen off. So I'm generally more of a fan of the Cleveland guys than I would think many people are, because I think there's still a perception that the Nuggets are a tough matchup, and they're not right now. Maybe they will be in April. They're not right now.
Anything else from this game? Kevin Love is a specific one. Thoughts on FanDuel?
FanDuel is 7,200. That's obviously a very tolerable number for that. Let me take a look at some of the other prices there. If Trae Young is out, John Collins does become a pretty big priority for me. I will probably prefer Al Horford regardless at 6,500. I will prefer Love to Nance regardless now with Tristan in. I definitely prefer Eric Pascal. If we get news specifically that Rashawn Holmes is out, I'd want to end up over the field on Harry Giles. I actually kind of like that matchup for him. 49 on FanDuel, 44 on DK. I do think his minutes push a little more towards the top here. So like that would be a thing for me. So I'm fairly ambivalent as far as Kevin Love goes. The minutes feel a little less secure for me than, the various kids on this team, although we've seen over 30, I think 6 of the last 7, something like that. So he's fine. I would need to see the ownership and react to it, but I'm guessing he's somewhere in the 15% range on FanDuel. There's a lot of good power forwards. I think that's about right. Larry Nance, you should still have in your player pool on a 5-game slate, but not playing much, if any, center. You may get just Tristan Thompson, Ante Zizic. And the price raise makes it dubious. Would be a fringe case there.
All right, before we get on to the next game, I want to give a shout out to Manny C. Man E.C. He's been dropping the super chats on all of our shows, but Eddie, this one goes out specifically to you. $20. He's thrown several $50 ones out there. He wants to say, thank you so much. You guys helped me get the win on Thursday night. It was something that Fast Eddie said that helped me reset a lineup, and I got there on FanDuel.
Then why do I get only $20? If he's thrown out $50 to other people, if I specifically, I'm so underappreciated my time. I'm just kidding. Thank you, Manny.
We appreciate it, Manny. You do not have to give any more because you
that's fine.
Gone above and beyond. But he said that you and I are the best 2 handicappers. That's how I'm assuming this. He had 10 lineups and took down first. I believe it was a 6-figure prize. So congratulations.
6-figure. Wow. Yeah. You should tweet that crap at me. 6 figures gets a retweet. I'm very selective with my retweeting, but I'd have gone there. 6 figures. That's very nice.
All right. Well, fingers crossed. I hope it was, but a good one nonetheless. So thank you for that. We do appreciate it. All right, let's check out our next game here. Oh, hit the like button. We've got approaching 2,000 people in here We're not even over 200 likes. I was gonna make y'all a deal and say I'd skip the next ad read if you got us to 300, but
I want to mention also Jordan McRae, going back to Detroit for a second, specifically on FanDuel. He's 3,800 there. He guns when he's out there. That's too cheap, even if you give him limited minutes. And I have him at 22 minutes, which still makes him feel just fine. So sorry for precluding that, but let's move on. But yeah, Jordan McRae, FanDuel more so raise again, 300 over the floor. I'm perfectly fine with that little bit of naughty business.
All right. So next game. Now we get to the pivot point here. We don't have all of the news yet. We don't know what's happening with Trae Young. He's been dealing with the cold, or illness, or flu, or whatever.
And I think we should push it off for that reason, because it's a tale of two games.
Then let's go to Philly and Golden State. We do have all of the injury information for that one. I do believe we are not waiting on anybody there. So we know that Curry's out, Draymond's out, Richardson's out, Embiid is out, and Simmons is out. Yikes, that's a lot of people out. Starting off with the Philly side here, what do you want to do with, I think, Tobias Harris and Al Horford, both excellent plays. Horford just gets ample opportunity when there's no Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons there. Now, what do you want to do with the passel of also Rans there, the other understudies? Is it a Mike Scott night? Is it are we getting Turkey with Furky? Are we looking at Alec Burks revenge, Glenn Robinson revenge? By the way, do you know how many years Glenn Robinson has played in the league?
Has played in the league?
In the league.
It's like 7.
Yeah, it's 6 or 7. I thought it was 3. I looked that up this morning with Adam.
So. Yeah, no, it's he's been around a while. There was Indiana. There was he's bounced around.
But revenge. This is his second stint. With,
he actually, like, I don't think that's how he plays. Nor do I think he has the opportunity. Nor do I think he has the usage. So he's not one of those guys I'm jumping on the revenge train. But for reference, he was really hurt when they let him go, and they've talked. He's already talked and mentioned, like, I'd like to go back at the end of this year. Like he went to a very good team from a losing team, but he was noticeably upset about that. He had offered to take a pay cut. He really wanted to stay.
Yeah, they just needed the body slot more or less for him.
He loved it there. Yeah. So if he were, point guard of the team and going to take 20 shots, it would be measurable for me, or not measurable, but relevant for me. Yeah, the also Rans thing is incredibly difficult for me. Again, the rotation that they've put Alec Burks in, and when particularly comes in, makes it hard for him to get hot. If you come in at the start of the second quarter, if they don't leave you in for the entire second quarter, it's hard to get extra time. Like, those are the options, is like just leave him in through the half, which, could happen. Price is getting a little bit better, but Alec Burks, I'm honestly surprised hasn't had a bigger role with this team, most specifically with Ben Simmons absent. So it should be pointed out that this Philadelphia team is in the worst 2 or 3 defensive teams in the league right now. They're awful. You have to remember, this is a team that was derided, excoriated, nailed frequently for having an incredibly weak bench. That was one of the sacrifices they made. They put together an amazing starting 5. What really has underperformed and due to injuries not gotten to its way. But that starting 5 was very sexy. And their bench was not. So now when you have 3 starters missing, you're playing a lot of guys who are not designed to be playing NBA games 28 minutes a night. And defensively, especially when you lose Simmons, who is an extremely good defender, Embiid, who is literally both of them are maybe top 10 defenders in the league, and Josh Richardson is well above average. So when you replace them with Shake Milton, Mike Scott, and Furkan Korkmaz, or what have you, or Glenn Robinson III, it's a noticeable difference. And those guys aren't really up on the system, so there are mental mistakes. Long story short being, I really like the also Rans on Golden State a lot more. No Steph, no Draymond, no back-to-back for either of these teams. I really like Eric Pascal. He probably is my favorite my favorite play on the slate at his current ownership right now. I really like Damian Lee. I don't mind whatsoever Jordan Poole. Marquise Chris, I have for 32 minutes. There is no Alan Smailagic. There is no Kevon Looney. Dude is going to spend plenty of time out there at center. Now, matchup obviously not great on an individual level. Sees a lot of Horford, who's still a very, very good defender, even at his advanced age of 8 years younger than me. But I'm a really big fan of getting to the Golden State guys, because I think a lot of people look at this matchup and go, "Ooh, Philly guys get to feast on Golden State." And it's, for me, because Draymond is out, not that he's Jan brilliant defender here, I would rank this Warriors defense as very, very slightly worse than the 76ers defense. But the ownership should be really nice on some of the also pieces. So Juan Toscano Anderson, Marquise Chris, Damian Lee, Jordan Poole, Eric Pascal. I'm fine to get to Andrew Wiggins. He is not as owned as much as I thought he was going to be. The price has come up very Christian Woody in that it is getting to a point where it's starting to close out the upside a little bit, but he, still has the ability to drop beyond 50 burger, and we currently have him projected at like 20 something if an overship. He's in the mid-teens, but he's still higher than Eric Pascal, which I think is just wrong. Pascal has been consistently productive. When you take Draymond off the court, most noticeably, but he is taking around 15 shots every game. He is playing mid-30s in minutes every game. When you take Draymond off the court, he gets like an extra tenth of a fantasy point a minute, and like an extra 10 minutes per game. So he still projects for me as a guy scoring like 33 fantasy points is where I have him projected in what's now a really strong matchup for him.
Wait, for Wiggins?
No, for Pascal.
Oh, sorry. I wanted to point out Wiggins' 1.4 multiplier on Superdraft, so 40% kicker there.
That's not bad. That would put him right around that 60 line for me. I think I have Wiggins projected for somewhere in 37, 38. We should look and see where Alex has him.
We have a ninth with 39 base points.
He has 39 base points for him. Yeah, I think that's a fine number. So when you multiply that by 1.4, you're going to get 55 and some change, 55.6.
If you will.
Sorry?
0.02?
0.02.
I just put my 2 cents, 55.02.
You're killing me.
I know. I've got to stop talking because we're not in sync today, Eddie. We're not in sync.
I apologize. There's my audio settings are a little messed up, so it could be on me a little bit. But yeah. So Philadelphia, the also Rans. I'll be interested again when they start being, 3K. If you told me I had to play, let me grab them and compare them to prices. So we should talk about Shake Milton. Shake Milton is, contrary to popular opinion or evidence yet received, not the best shooter to ever play NBA basketball. Problem with this argument is he's shown a really incredible upside and shot, out of his mind. But I don't know, if you game log him, he's got this funny every other game thing going on. Let me find it. This means nothing. I'm just pointing it out for S's and G's here. But shots per game over the last 6 games: 7, 14, 7, 20, 9, 14. So we're back to a 7 or 9 game. I'm just kidding. But point being, there are times his shot volume is not that great, and he will not continue to shoot. I will guess over the last 2 weeks, he is shooting something like 70% from the field and around that from 3. Like, he's shooting better from...
Yeah, it's been ungodly.
It's been completely ridiculous. The matchup is great. It's going to come down to an ownership question. I will take a look at it right now and tell you that with Shake Milton, that doesn't look like he's holding a lot of ownership because he didn't pop on the first page and some change. We have him at 8%. I would like him quite a bit. We have him at 8% on DK. I'll refresh and make sure we don't have a change on that number. But on a 5-game slate against Golden State, running everything, I have quite a bit of interest in him at that number. So I think he's a very strong GPP play. We have him marginally higher than either of the Bogdanovici. I would prefer him over that. I would prefer him over a very similarly, it'd be pretty close. I would prefer Damian Lee by a little bit on the opposite side of the ball at identical ownership. So, yeah, let's move on and take questions if I missed some part of that game.
All right, well, let's go back. We do have Trae Young. He is in. There is no minutes restriction. Sorry I had to come down and ban some people or time out some people. Do not screw around with news in chat. You get a timeout this time because I didn't see it. I was just guessing at the 2 people who it was. Next time it's a permaban. So yeah, you don't lose those privileges.
As it should be. Don't screw with somebody else's money.
Yeah.
I do not appreciate that. Most of the time, you can call me any name you want to. There's very little internet conduct that I have an issue with. I'm one very chill dude, but don't mess with other people's money. That's not cool.
We got the Trae Young news, but I wanted to give a shout out to Christopher and I've lost it, so I don't know his last name, started with an M. Did have an Awesemo logo. Thank you. Nice avatar. But he said he heard Hawks on Lock radio show. Trey said he was more or less resting to be ready for this game. He knew he wasn't going to be fully healthy, but until he got to this point was his plan. So he should be full go. We have seen him say full. The news has come out, no minutes limit.
Yeah, I'm a big fan then.
So let's hit that game, starting off with what does that do to Young, Herder, Reddish, etc. I'll see if
it
Reddish
makes
has
them all very significantly worse, obviously. So these two teams played Monday. In the last week, these two teams played
on the second Monday. Yep.
And in Atlanta. And Memphis beat the bejesus out of them with Trae Young in by like 40. So it would have been an entirely different conversation as to now in Memphis, where that team has played much better. By the way, Atlanta coming to town with no Trae Young. There's been not once but twice this year where there was a Hawks game, and I was incredibly excited about the Hawks game. And in 20 minutes into it, I thought to myself, Jesus, this team is awful without Trae Young. It's happened a couple times, and it ruined things. So I think in my first lineup tonight, I now have Trae Young and CJ McCollum to turn it into an interesting conversation here. We have Lillard. We don't have any word on minutes yet for him. Played 38 minutes last night. That is a lot of time. His injury was of the soft tissue type. He had, I believe, a groin pull, tear, strain, what have you. So even if I expect him to play tonight. I don't know if he will play, but there's been no indication he won't. So I like Damian Lillard just fine, but having gone back and watched an hour of scintillating Kings Trailblazers basketball today, they stack him up pretty good. And he generally defers a lot. If you give me a minute, I'll pull some numbers, but that was just eye test. But
sorry, he's not on the injury report at all. No comment whatsoever.
Lillard? Yeah, no, I know. I'm aware. I expect Lillard to play and be. I'd say 99% chance he plays. I'd say 85% chance he is in no way limited. Put it that way. But it is a back-to-back. He is returning, 2 games returned from a significant groin injury that cost him 4 or 5 games, and well, more than that. But so there's some chance he gets limited. He's first guy out in a blowout, so there's just a little more risk there. Though there's obviously some risk for Trae Young as well, though not on the back-to-back. He is ill, so maybe they take it easy and ignore that part of the conversation. The part of the conversation I want to talk about was, at least in the last couple meetings. So we have, this is the fourth and final meeting here. All right. So we have the first game between these two teams. You had Lillard have a very good game, and he was decent in all these games one way or another. But Lillard took 20 shots. McCollum took 18 in their first matchup. Okay. So that's still would make me like McCollum more, setting everything else even. If he's going to take 90% of those shots, of Lillard's shot total, rather. If you look at the second game, sorry, I didn't have this. I just watched the game earlier. Lillard took 10 shots. McCollum took 21. All right, and let's look at the third game. Lillard took 12 shots. McCollum took 22. Now, I do think, having watched this, I didn't happen to catch any, like, when I have enough time, I like to watch the entirety of the games because you see the coaches talking and you see stuff and maybe the announcer say something. I didn't have time for that. I was fast forwarding through a lot of footage, but I don't think this is an abstraction that he was significantly higher usage than Lillard in 2 of the games, and pretty darn close to even in the first one. Again, usage not being analogous with straight shots, but I'm not going to go back and look. And I don't mind Lillard, but at this point, I think McCollum will be very low owned relative to these other guys. It's the immediate pivot away from Lillard. So, and I like playing Trae Young at this point, who will be at least to some degree under owned due to the lateness of his condition and coming out with 25 minutes before lock. So I probably start my lineups with McCollum, Trae Young if I'm building one lineup. That sounds good to me. Someone says Mitchell or McCollum. From a raw points perspective, I have Donovan Mitchell as a slightly more productive player. That being said, I would play McCollum myself because I want the leverage on the significantly owned Lillard play. And let's look at ownership on all these guys, because I don't want to speak entirely out of school. I was doing some presuming there.
Here's actually a good one.
Yeah, we have Lillard as the 5th most owned player at the slate right now at 26%. Trae Young coming in will knock that down a peg. I think 23-24% is right, but CJ McCollum, I have a feeling I'm going to be scrolling here for a minute because his price is still a little bit inflated and people are not going to want to go there. We have CJ McCollum at 7%. So that is what I would do, and that is why I would do it. I try to always do that, by the way, because people disagree with me. I want you to know why. I try to rarely say just do this because I'm not always right, and I want to provide the reasoning so that people can learn and try to do the same thing themselves. But also, if they find my reasoning faulty by data or explanation, that they can go, all right, well, that's crap. I'm going to go a different way. I would like to provide you with that opportunity.
Someone's asking, what were the Tristan Thompson and Jokic
crap.
stats you were referring to earlier?
Okay, one sec. Downloading.
Do you have a ranking for Mulder as well?
I do not have a ranking for Mulder.
Is that the intentional Buddy Hield? Probably not a great.
No, that's was Mulder's price up to like 4K? I believe he may have priced himself out a little bit, where I just had him as slightly worse than other value guards. But
Mulder is 37, 39, and 16. Woo, Yahoo.
Wow. 16. They're getting by. Look at Yahoo being out in front. Yahoo's like, we didn't get anyone else right, but we're the nuts on Michael Mulder.
We have all these other $10 and $11 and $12 players, but not Michael Mulder.
Yeah, last time they played, Tristan Thompson, 12 and 13, 2 assists and a block in 38 minutes against the Nuggets. Jokic against him, 19, 12, and 5, so a little below average. Game before that, between these two teams, Tristan Thompson, 28 minutes, 10, 7, and 4. Jokic, 4, 6, 3, 1, and 1 in 22 minutes. I don't know what caused the reduced time, and I don't remember it offhand. Game before that, Tristan Thompson, 12, 7, and 1. Nikola Jokic, 9, 8, 7, and 1. For that, decent game out of Jokic, a decent whatever. So just generally, he defends him fairly well. Doesn't let him do a ton and can still sort of get his. So that's why on DraftKings 6,200 or whatever it was, I'm like, 5,100 on FanDuel at what will be, I presume, 7% ownership. I would have some ownership. I would get on top of that number. Someone's asking about the Michael Mulder thing. Well, let's see. We should expect our rotation to most closely resemble which the hell game was that? Not the Nuggets game, I think. Let me go find it.
All right. While you're looking for that, I'm gonna hit. Don't worry, we're gonna get to Memphis, everybody, and then we'll hit.
Yeah,
the last game.
Mulder should be ranked. I pulled him in that game, which is the most recent simulacrum for this one. Mulder started and played 35 minutes with the same personnel available as in this one. So I would probably rank him at the high threes. I would rather play Juan Toscano-Anderson. I would rather play the pay up for Poole or for Lee by extension. I really like Pascal. So one of the reasons I inappropriately dismissed him on a 5-game slate was he's like my 7th favorite option on the team. But he should probably be, if you find out he's starting, he's probably a B in cash. And a B in GPPs. If he was not starting, he would be probably a D in cash because he could end up playing like the Chasson Randall role from that game, or one of the other guys and only play in the mid-teens in minutes, and then he'd probably be like a D and a C. So depending if he starts or not. But good call out. Thank you.
All right. If, and this is transitioning into Memphis, if you were playing one center, single entry on FanDuel, would it be Jonas Valanciunas, who is my favorite center of the night? And by the way, I love me some Hassan Whiteside. But I'm still giving Jonas the kicker there.
I will look at entry projections on FanDuel because that would significantly affect it for me.
And that was from Bofa. You heard of Bofa?
You mean both of these nuts? Almost got me. You almost got me. Like I was like, there's no way Emac is making a D's nuts joke. But then like you went Bofa. You heard of Bofa? And the second thing was clearly trying to set the hook. We have Valanciunas at 30%, Whiteside at 17, Jokic at 18 and change, Chris at 12, Gobert at 11. I would play Gobert. If those numbers hold, Gobert at 11 is my favorite play there. Tristan Thompson at 10, by the way, we have right now. At those numbers, I would play Gobert. He's a chance. He's the highest scoring center of the night. I think the floor is very good. So when a single entry tournament do that, you're still just laughing at yourself.
Now chat's chiming in. They're very happy. I set the hook, but I yanked it too quick, so the fish didn't.
You got anxious. You got anxious. You're like just like a young man coming in for a
buck fever, baby, shooting everything,
pissing all over the bar.
All right. Oh, so Sam French, why does it seem like the more Emac drinks, the more full his glass gets? Because I have backups here. just and now they're both empty. So that's why there's so much ice in the glass.
Finally,
I
by
bring up
watching
2
EMAC,
cans of soda. So
we have proof we're living in the simulation.
All right. Okay. Sorry.
The Hanukkah Diet Pepsi there.
Dylan Brooks, not a great basketball player, shoots a boatload though. We love him for fantasy.
Yeah,
John Morant tonight. Tyus Jones now playing 6 to 8 minutes alongside of.
We got to plan the show better. It's too late to be getting to these things. My fault, not yours. I gotta steer a little more. So yeah. Everyone starting for this team is in play, which is frequently going to be the case on a 5-game slate. I really like Jonas Valanciunas. They are fighting for that 8th spot. It's very significant. They have a nasty schedule. They are like 2.5 or 3.5 games up on second place, and they are still way behind the Pelicans as far as an odds projection to make the postseason. You check the playoff odds at 538. The Pellies are like a 57% chance of getting that 8th spot, even though they're 2.5 or 3.5 games back, I think.
They're 3.5 back.
Sorry?
They're 3.5 back.
They're 3.5 back. So they're still significantly the favorites, where Memphis has it right now by some 3 games. And both Portland and Sacramento and New Orleans are several games behind them, chasing them. But their schedule is just downright nasty. They have like a Knicks game and a Portland game and a Dallas game, and then just nasty crap where it's like, Pelicans, Raptors. Bobby apparently going crazy up there, which Bobby already back from he had his berries removed today, so he's back from the vet already, and he's not happy. Where are my nuts? Where are my testes?
Bofa! Where are Bofa?
I can't believe I didn't make that connection. My dog is going crazy because he just came out of sedation and has realized he's missing his 2 best friends, and I'm not talking about your pals back in the Winnebago. All right, let's move on. Okay. But yeah, sorry, Kyle Anderson. I don't mind that at 4,200, 4,100. Wouldn't have a lot of that. I like DeAnthony Melton more. He's been garbage. Moving in the starting lineup didn't help him. The minutes are still very restrictive. If they were all the same price, I would prefer Josh Jackson to those 2. At price, it's close. We've been seeing more Tyus Jones next to John Morant, so I don't mind that either. All those guys would be pretty even for me between Josh Jackson, Tyus Jones, Kyle Anderson, Dylan Brooks. They get the Hawks, and the Hawks are bad. The Hawks with Trae Young are even worse defensively. So, again, they beat them by 39 6 days ago or something in Atlanta with Trae Young. So, I don't know what the line on this game is, but I'm guessing like 8. I'll go with 8. This is my guess for
Hawks Memphis favored by 7. Sorry,
7. That's around where I'd put that.
It's down to 6 now at some books.
Well, trade. So yeah, I like Jonas Valanciunas quite a bit. He's a fantasy monster. The matchup is great. You're gonna have Dedmon starting again. That's a bit of a downgrade for him. You'd rather him get more Collins, more Fernando, any of that crap. Let's move on. Did we miss a game?
Yeah, hit the late game. We've got revenge going all directions. We've nibbled at it a few times, so I'm turning you loose here. We got 7 minutes to lock. Then at 7:01, we're going to Super Draft, and we've got the final 4 games there. They lock at 7:30. Eddie, late night hammer, take it away.
I'm going to like Harry Giles on DK. If we find out that Rashawn Holmes is out, I'm absolutely fine getting to Buddy Hield. De'Aaron Fox is a bit of a priority for me. I like him quite a bit in this matchup. I think he goes under-owned relative to the price of some of the other options. So De'Aaron Fox, probably the king I am most excited to play on either site. If Holmes is in, I'm not playing a center on this team. Just let them all go. Bazemore, absolutely fine. Ranked him double Bs. He's a guy who's probably going to get you 20, 25, but he'll play 34 minutes. And I'm absolutely fine getting to Bazemore, especially FanDuel where the price is particularly advantageous. Bogdanovich would be in play. I slightly prefer him at his price to his non-brother Bojan. It's really it for that team. I'll answer specific questions about ranking them after that, or you can check the rankings themselves. I like Damian Lillard quite a bit, but he's very significantly owned based on what I think may happen in the game and the savings. I will play CJ McCollum in one lineup before I play Damian Lillard in GPPs. In cash, I think Damian Lillard would be a better play. Yes. Harris
or John Collins now that Trae Young is in?
I would rather play Tobias Harris significantly than John Collins. Thanks for bringing me back to that. Tobias Harris went through a blowout. There was a lot of randomness in his non-production for the first few games after everyone went out there. And the last time they played, I was on that show and I said I absolutely love Tobias Harris, and he went out and put up beyond 55 or whatever the hell he did. That is closer to the expectation. It was very similar to McCollum in the first couple games without Lillard, where he did not go absolutely the hell off. And I'm like, he's going to go absolutely the hell off more often than not. So will Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris is going to average out to a 37% usage or something if this situation continues for long. Especially in certain matchups. Now, this matchup is so easy. I like him a little less relatively to the field because they don't end up having to hero ball as much, which he's really the only guy in the team after Shake Milton a little bit who can hero ball incredibly well. Alec Burks can, but they're not playing him enough. Starters getting infinite minutes here. I like Whiteside plenty. I prefer Gobert at price versus Jokic. It's going to be relative to ownership per site, but they project fairly similarly to me. Whiteside getting a lot more minutes, 8,900 on DK. I significantly prefer Whiteside. FanDuel very close for me. Ariza very similar to Bazemore in his deployment. I would have similar amounts of both of them where you look at matchup and price and just lots of minutes. And I think I got everything. Close enough anyway. Let's get some questions.
All right. A lot of people asking some Sexton questions. Can you just round into that one real quick?
I like him a lot. The usage is really significant. We have no Garland anymore. We're missing even Exum as a backup. We have no Porter. Dude's gonna play 40 minutes and he's under 7K. So I think I started to say that before and rounded into, and the Nuggets defense has been shit. But I forgot to get back to the point that brought me there, which was, yeah, I really like Colin Sexton because I think he can score enough to get there. The peripherals have been not as anemic as they were to start the season, but Colin Sexton at a price in the high sixes, I like.
Would you limit Dame and CJ from being on the same lineup on FanDuel?
No, not on a 5-game slate. I'd make sure to have some Kings in that lineup, but no, I can conceive of a Dame CJ lineup getting there, and it will be very unique. There will be 1% to 1.5% of lineups on the full slate will have Dame and CJ in them.
Hield or Barton on DK?
It would depend on correlation for me. I haven't projected close enough that it would depend on, do I also have Fox? Then I'd probably rather play Barton I have them close enough. It would depend on what else I'm doing with my lineup. Am I stacking one of those two games? If not, I'm probably trying to avoid other players from that same game with the same sort of scoring profile.
Raw points, Whiteside or Lillard DK? Sorry, I just changed around my rotation by a minute, so it is going to change stuff. I have Damian Lillard by 3 over Hassan Whiteside by about 48 to about 45. Okay, that's pretty close to what Awesemo has as well.
I have CJ McCollum at 39, by the way, for point of reference.
But you're willing to take the slight discount and the ownership discount to go with CJ over Lillard, correct?
In one lineup, I would play CJ over Lillard for the reason I explained. I think you need to.
Okay. No, I had proxied him as you. So
sure, I'm trying to find an angle that seems reasonable to me, is supported by evidence, and allows me to make one decision that gives me an advantage over the field. So you can do that, and you can run everything else fairly chalky. I'll play the good guys, and I'll play Trey instead of Lillard, and I'll play CJ. Poof, I've made a lineup.
Mulder or Toscano Anderson? That'll be our last question until we cut over to Super Draft. And this is why I don't play the early lock games.
Yeah, I would play JTA with Draymond out. If Draymond had been in, even with Steph out or whatever, that would have been enough to certainly put me onto Mulder. But with Steph out and Draymond out, I would rather play JTA by a little bit. Closer on DK. FanDuel definitely, due to steal upside on JTA, is the way he's going to get there if he does.
Excellent, and we are seconds literally away from lock, about 30, so they're going to hear this right as it is lock. But looking over at Super Draft, I do just want to remind everybody, 1, hit that like button, and 2, when you sign up for Super Draft, use the promo code Awesemo when you create your account. Then when you make your first deposit, if you put in $100, they will give you $20 in Super Cash. That is their site currency, and it is available for immediate use into any contest. What is different about Super Draft? Well, there are no salary caps. Wait a second. So you mean we could play literally an all-star team if we wanted to? Absolutely. But what's the catch? Multipliers. It's all about the multipliers. So say, I haven't looked at everybody tonight, but Hassan Whiteside probably has a 1.2 multiplier tonight. You could get somebody like Shake Milton at a 1.7 multiplier, Who would you like better? I don't know. What do you want to do? You got 3 guards, 3 forwards, a utility. They have late swap. They also are CSV upload friendly as well as CSV late swap friendly. And their scoring system, well, it's pinball scoring. You got to love it. 3 points for blocks and steals, double-double and triple-double bonus, -1 for turnovers, and then everything else is about what you would expect. Oh, yeah, half point for 3-pointers. So they've taken DK, they've taken FanDuel, put them all together, and then add a multiplier on top of it. It is a lot of fun. You'll want to check it out. It is something that we are highlighting a lot here at Awesemo. And tonight, their contest is $20,000, $12 entry. It has 1,300 people in it, 1,930 total, 4,000 to first. And we're going to talk about that now that we are at lock. But first, a game of Daddy Likes.
Take back.
But please do hit that like button.
I just have one crappy game, right? We're just on Detroit and Utah.
Yeah. So I have 0 across the board. Woohoo! I may have some tears or some.
What sites are you playing?
DK and Super Draft. That's it. I can't,
no FanDuel?
I can't do not when I'm on air. I could barely hang Excel wise with Josh, maybe, and it doesn't look nearly as pretty. I can't multitask or set up.
I never hosted when I was able to play, and when the day I'm allowed to play again and cleared up to do that, then I will.
Let's see. Somebody yesterday is Michael Porter Jr. in play tonight on DK, and I'm downloading.
I will give you in play. Yes, you need that game to blow out. There's no reason to suggest he's going to get enough time in their normal rotation to be good enough with everyone healthy. He's in play because he could get up to 20 minutes if they crush them, but understand that you're correlating strongly with a blowout there. So I'm avoiding most expenditures in that game, or at least not overloading on it. So don't play him with Jokic, whose success would be strongly correlated with the game remaining close.
So, is it true anything can happen and that's why they play the games, Eddie? You mean like Houston being down by 12 in Charlotte right now?
They were down 20-0.
0 donuts.
20-0. I wish that with I mean, there's no Russell Westbrook, so it's not quite.
All right, this is an emergency breaking super chat. This is from Nate W. Nate Dub. Damn near 30 years later, and D's nuts attempts are hilarious. I'll put in $20 from this point on if one of the hosts ever gets another host to bite.
Oh my god!
I'll have you bite on D's, both of D's.
I'm gonna totally nail EMAC. If with any guy, I'm gonna get him in the next 24 hours. Like, I'm gonna be clever about it, but watch tomorrow's show. I'm gonna have to sneak it in on him, but I'm gonna like invent a G League player, and I'm totally gonna get you to go. How do you say that? Like, I'm totally going to draw. It's gonna be incredible. I'm gonna queue up the got him, right? Got him. I'm gonna get the whole thing. It's gonna be good.
All right, Eddie. Who is the #1 owned player on our early game? It is Utah at Detroit.
Yeah, this one I know. Then I'm clueless. Mike Conley.
You are correct, sir.
Okay. It's gonna be a pretty good number. 5-game slate. I'll go 31%.
Not bad. I have 0, but it's 27.6.
That's good. I feel good about 27.6. I rank it. I rank it a lot.
Who does #2 work for?
It. I'm doing the girl with the tasting the beer gif right now.
Oh,
I don't know
that
if
is
you can
funny.
see it, but I'm doing the. Okay, the only other people who should have any significant ownership are Knight, Gobert, and Wood.
Congratulations, you have named the next 3 players.
Okay. I will give people credit and say Gobert.
Technically, no, but it's close.
You fools! Who is it?
Brandon Knight, 15.49. Gobert, 15.27. So it's statistically a tie.
They got more Gobert than Wood. I'm giving them credit anyway. Good job.
Yep. Christian Wood is 11.3.
Pow! Sorry. Someone said pow from Step Brothers. Just wanted to do that.
Eddie, if Emet gets you in the future on D's nuts, you have to do the Josh mustache.
He will never ever get me. If he
Oh.
gets me on these nuts, I will do the super draft Herbert the pervert thing for you again. But that's
all right.
all.
Well, we want to get over to super draft, so just real quick, Donovan, just say yay or nay. Donovan Mitchell 7.5.
Love it.
Gobert, pardon me, Ingles 6.3.
About appropriate.
Bruce Brown 6.1.
I like it. That's there's a chance they roll him the hell back out there for 35 minutes. Like I would take that risk happily.
Boyan 5.9.
I like it. I'd like a little more than
that. Jordan Clarkson 5.9.
About right at that DK price.
Jordan McRae 4.9.
About right at that DK price.
Royce O'Neal 2.6.
Yeah, okay.
Spee Mccollum 2.1.
Okay.
And then it's Sekou Doumbouya 0.04.
He's there. I'm 0.04. I ranked him. I said I would have a share. So by definition, I said I would have at least 0.67. So I'm at least 16 3/4 times the field.
Thon McCurr, is he healthy?
Yeah, he's there.
All right. Tony Bradley is active, I'm sure.
Yes, but not in the rotation, I don't think. I think
Luke Kennard, 0.02. Oops.
Oh.
Gorgeous Yang, 0.01. Is he healthy?
George Niang is healthy, yes. And in the rotation, he will probably play.
Jarrell Brantley. I do not know who that is.
Utah G League, I believe. I think he is actually a You Played Yourself.
Ed Davis?
Playing backup center, to the best of my knowledge.
Blake Griffin, Kyrie Thomas, and Emmanuel Mudiay.
Kyrie Thomas is actually okay. Kyrie Thomas is okay. Emmanuel Mudiay is okay too. Blake Griffin is not, but Emmanuel Mudiay and Kyrie Thomas are with their teams healthy and active, I believe. I could have missed news on those guys, I'm not going to lie, or I could have seen it and forgotten it. Like Kyrie Thomas, I believe both those players are healthy, active, and with the big league squad.
All right, we're going to go over here to Super Draft. There are 400 spots left. Is a $20,000 contest, $4,000 to first. They do have a couple spots left in the $1 and $1, the $2 layup. They have a single entry double up. Ooh, I'm going to put my lineup in that one because I didn't get into a double up yet. So there we go. All right, so let's look at some of our interesting options. Let me get to my lineup so I can make some updates. How do I get there? Edit all. Import. Here we go. So my placeholder lineup, I am now removing Kevin Huerter, who was a juicy 1.6, but Trae Young is back. I do have De'Aaron Fox, who you said you liked tonight, and I'm sure you like him at 1.4.
Yes, I like him quite a bit at 1.4.
I'm guessing
I'd have him at. I mean, that'd be about where you need to. Let me look at I'll pull up Alex's super draft projections and then I'll run mine concurrently.
And I'm going to make some lineups because apparently I joined the 7:30 slate as well tonight. So I am all over the place. I was disciplined enough to know.
Okay, yes, I like Fox a lot. Yeah, Alex and I have the same two players predominantly better than the entire field. Right? We both have both have Horford and Harris head and shoulders above everyone else on super draft by raw projection. Oh, there goes my 50.
Well, I'll let you read that one.
Fast Eddie, this makes it a 50 dropper for you and Bobby. Thanks. Go get him some treats, my good man. Man's best friend is missing dog friends. You are appreciated, and I appreciate how your mind works. You're the only one, but I appreciate that. By the way, it was 6 figures.
6 figsies. Figgies, baby. 6 figgies.
Yeah, that's I had exactly one. I have never had a 6-figure win in a contest. I have had a 6-figure night in DFS back when I played. It was harder back when I played prizes, but never won 6 figures in a single DFS contest. So you have bested me, good sir. Congratulations, Mazel tov, a blessing on your house, young man.
It reminds me of the quote at the end of Tommy Boy that I can't remember.
Someone just super chatted. I said yesterday, why can't you play DFS? We all don't know. Okay. My day job is with a company called Global Daily Fantasy Sports. We host actual fantasy sports contests. So just like anyone who works at FanDuel or DraftKings, due to the laws in the state in which I live, as well as my employer prohibiting it, as well as DraftKings and FanDuel having disabled my accounts, I cannot play DFS anymore. That's why I host shows. If I could still do that. If I switch my day job, y'all better say goodbye. If I switch my day job, I'm switching my night job. put it that way. They'll both go.
All right. Okay. Well, you guys are stuck with me as long as the good people here at Awesemo have me on air. So
yeah. So if you host actual contests at the company, you can work for a content provider like us or another company, but you can't work for a company that actually itself has DFS companies.
All right. So back to Super Draft, though. Quick reminder: we are. Let me get over to their lineups. 20 minutes left.
The 1.6 on Horford. How did that happen?
Yeah, Horford and Tobias Harris just kind of need to be in your lineups. There are 400 spots really left, 18 minutes to go. Promo code Awesemo when you sign up gets you a nice little bonus of $20 in Super Cash if your first deposit was $100, and that comes out of your account first and into contests. And that's what I did, so it was a lot of fun starting out because I didn't have to watch my balance go down. I got to watch their balance go down. And now it's been a nice little seesaw battle back and forth. So Shake Milton 1.7. Is he in the conversation for you?
Yeah. At 1.7 he has to be. Especially since, and again, I don't have the best feel for the ownership there yet. And he has been producing over his head. So
let me help you on that. Harris and Horford actually is multi-position eligibility, I believe, at forward and center. They're both going to be approaching 80 to 85% tonight.
Right. That's what I would think. So that may, I imagine in one GPP lineup, I might rest. I don't know how to take out of those two. Like DraftKings, I wanted to get to more Harris. Horford is going to be 55-60% owned, and that's fine. He's brilliantly priced. Harris still in the low. I expect him to continue to average around 50 in good matchups while this is going on. So they're both going to be 80-85%. Again, I'd have to look at the payout structure because that factors into it to some degree. If 40% of the prizes go to first place, then I'm more inclined to be bold, if you will. But I imagine I'd have some interest in playing like Milton and Horford and letting Harris go. But not by any mathematical projection-based logic. So for that reason, if I was playing cash, we'll say, both Alex and I have a smattering of guys at somewhere between 56 and 59 fantasy points. With Shake Milton at the top, he has him. I have Shake Milton behind De'Aaron Fox and behind Ja Morant. Alex has him third overall, but again, we're talking about a point here or there. So probably I'm probably not playing all three 76ers. I think in a cash lineup, I would start with Harris and Horford, and then, probably let Milton go for that reason because you're sort of fighting against yourself a little bit. But definitely in a tournament, I'd probably try to let one of them go. Probably Milton first, but then after that, probably Harris, and hope that, Milton does a little more of the scoring, and so does Horford, and so on and so forth. So Horford probably one I would stick with a little bit more. I'd prioritize De'Aaron Fox. I like him. I'm projected for a couple points more than Alex. I have him barely my number 3 scorer over Morant, who I have at number 4 over Milton. But again, Alex and I have them all within a 2-point band. Both of us. I like Jamal Murray. What is that going to be? 1.45. I like Jamal Murray at that number quite a bit. How close is? Yeah, that seems right. I look at mine.
Now, knowing that there is a late swap and that we do not have full information yet for Richaun Holmes, not that we would want to play him, but does that make you want to do anything a little bit different or leave yourself a little wiggle room? The final game is an hour and a half after the Golden State and Philly game.
I would posit, without any evidence to prove it, that people don't swap as much on Super Draft as they should. People don't swap anywhere as much as they should.
I would say most people let it ride on Super Draft,
right?
Truthfully.
Barring injury.
Barring injury, yeah. Even the top players do.
Right. I would be generally excited to swap whenever I had a viable option that was close to good enough. So I don't know if you have Harry Giles at 1.9 or Alex Len at 2.0 or something like that. But one of those players, if you got news specifically that Rashawn Holmes was not going to play, I'd have some interest in. But I do think I would make a priority of trying to swap whenever possible, because I do think most people are letting it ride outside of injury, which is the same thing that I did a long YouTube video once that was about how people were complaining about late swap and the absence of late swap, and how 99% of those people were passionately advocating against their own best interests, because NBA with late swap is very, very, very difficult for even a semi-casual person to win already, because of its predictability, because of the mass of publicly available knowledge. And most people who are begging for late swap do crap about using it correctly. Late swap is something you should do constantly, and most people who are and were begging for it use it when their guy gets hurt. And if you're just using late swap when your guys get injured, then you should definitely not want late swap. It is a massive hindrance for you, because other people are optimizing all the time. And if you're just making a change when, oh crap, Jimmy Butler got scratched, man, I want late swap, you probably don't. It's probably kicking you directly in the ball sack 9 days out of 10. And then on that 10th day, you're complaining that you didn't have it, which was really the only situation where you might be even with the pros who are going to beat the crap out of you all the other days. So people don't swap enough. So I imagine a key part of my super draft strategy would be trying to find anything good to swap into, because you're just abnormally going to get guys at a low price. One of the factors of the multipliers and getting that glut of names in the same area is that ownership is going to be a great determinator in that system. So again, I've got half dozen players here projecting somewhere between 56 and 59 fantasy points. If someone else swaps in and is at 55, but might not have been available for a lot of day, I'm going to love that guy, because I'll get him at 3% as opposed to 21 on the average on all those other guys. So.
All right, quick little look here, because that's kind of the shake.
Someone just said, I don't know how much money I make swapping in head-to-heads. Yeah, like that's the classic example, in that if you're in head-to-heads and there's games throughout the evening, you should be reacting to how your early games go, or swapping head-to-heads based on who you think your opponent has in the lineup. If you have time to look at the head-to-heads, you can specifically figure out who they have. But more so if you're in 50-50s or any sort of cash contest, if you have some players playing at 7, 8, 9, 10, 10:30, and your 7 o'clock guys go the hell off, you should make a swap, taking out your riskier 10 p.m. guys and putting in safer 10 p.m. guys, because you don't need them to get 50 anymore. You just need them to not get 12. So, I'll go safe. I just need to finish in the top half of the contest. Like, there's tons of little edges that you should be using all day, and using news that isn't my dude is out. There's lots of other actionable news. So yeah.
So if we run De'Aaron Fox at, say, I don't know what we ended up with, like 25%, would you want like how much more in that late game of him?
If he was 25%, I would probably want 35 or 40. I would want more, not some sort of all-in situation, but I do particularly like the spot for him, and he also looked good today. I came away from watching, I think I watched an hour and a quarter of those games earlier today, and I wanted more Fox, I wanted more McCollum, I wanted more Whiteside. Someone just said Gobert. Someone just said Gobert in all caps. That has me excited. I don't know anything else.
Interesting. Let's see. Buddy Hield, Trevor, Ariza, and Bazemore. We didn't get specifically into those guys. I really like both of them in this game. I just think the jack of all trade look. Pardon?
Bazemore or Ariza? Is that the question?
No, I'm just saying my thoughts on the late slate and looking at those guys. Those were two guys that we didn't give a lot of love to, but now that the player pool is thin somewhat, I just wanted to give them a bit of a shot.
I like those guys a lot. They're fairly safe. They're going to play tons of minutes in a fast game that's competitive, where we expect the starters to get lots of minutes between two teams fighting for the same 8th seed. I like those guys plenty in mid to high 4.
Was Corey Joseph of any interest to you? Late slate. He's 3K on DK.
Late slate at the absolute floor. Yes, I can see doing it.
What do you think he gets? Like 15 to 17 kind of DK points?
Yeah, I think it would be projected for me somewhere around 13. Actually, I could look it up, but he would be He should be. I mean, you're hoping for Fox injury, Fox whatever. I have him at 14. I have him at 13. Excuse me. Alex has him at 13.4. So yeah, he's gonna play. I mean, he's not a great producer, but you need De'Aaron Fox to get 2 fouls in the first 3 minutes, or he can still be just the best 3K player when the ideal strategy required a player at 3K or a player at 3 to 3.2K. So he can get 16 and still be in the best possible lineup. So I don't have an issue on like a 2-game slate playing Corey Joseph. No.
Does Bielitsa do anything for you at all?
Less, certainly, with the very limited expectancy that he plays a ton of center, though it's still possible. But Holmes coming back would make it really sticky for me because I don't think he gets that time. But he's very much in playing the 2-game slate. He's been playing the 5-game slate. And I ranked him. He was very good in one of these earlier matchups. He gets plenty of Melo, who's not defensively, competent by any reasonable standard. So he doesn't, I would much rather play Eric Pascal. I would much rather play a lot of other guys. But I would have some exposure. Yeah.
All right. Sorry,
Christian Wood with a goose egg.
I'm working on my lineup, so if you want to enthrall the masses that are left with Super Draft, we have 200 spots left. We have 8 minutes to get there. Kind of guys that we've liked as our placeholders. Fox at 1.4. Shake Milton is your wiggle room guy, trying to be a differentiator at 1.7. Harris and Horford are going to be incredibly popular, but at 1.45 and 1.6, they are outstanding. Joval at 1.4 is awesome. Wiggins, not going to go under the radar, but may not be quite as popular as he ought to be at 1.4. And then you have CJ McCollum at 1.3.
I'd rather play Wiggins at 1.4 for a raw point sensibility over McCollum. It's very close, but that projects a little higher for me.
All right. Sure, I saved that lineup. And by that, I mean the one I basically just read off, and I normally hate to do that, but whatevs, here we are.
John Henson, baby. Did I actually mention him on the show? I either mentioned him on the show or in a text conversation with someone as we went live.
It was not on the show, sadly.
Damn it. Kind of like John Henson.
All right. I'm sorry, I'm building out my... How do you feel about Jordan Poole with everybody gone?
Yeah, I like him quite a bit. I think, he is appropriately discounted versus Lee, but will be even lower on the ownership. But yeah, I'm a fan. I would have
our Twitter account hasn't asked you yet, but it will. Dragon Bender.
Hey, there you go. He's not good at basketball, but
he is 3,300.
I like him quite a bit, and thank you for bringing him up because he should end up playing backup center here to some significant degree. Because again, we have no Kevon Looney, we have no Alan Smiljicic, so I can actually get behind very cheap Dragon Bender. That's a note I didn't get to. Let me see if there's any other notes I didn't get to. I only have 4 pages today. It's a short notes day for me.
It was only 5 games. Oh shoot, Michael Mulder somehow is heavy.
Let's see.
With Trey starting, do you go with Herter? Do you keep Herter or go with Damian Lee or Bielitsa? I would go with Damian Lee. I think he's a phenomenal play.
I would go with Damian Lee too. I concur with my esteemed colleague.
Why, thank you. John Moran at 36% on the main feels a little high. 6,800 on DK. Your thoughts? I'm trying to figure if I should go over or under. This is from Eric in Leesburg.
I feel like that's about right. It's Hawks. It's a really short slate. He's still underpriced versus his upside. He's been very inconsistent, but literally is going to get a significant amount of defense from Trae Young. And by defense, I mean the worst defender possibly in the National Basketball Association. And he is a guy who can have a 50, 60-point game. We've seen it a few times. So there is some reasonably significant shot that he gets there. It is hard for me against the Hawks to not play Valanciunas or Brooks or Morant. I don't think you need to play John Morant, and if you want to come in under, that's fine. But I want 1 or 2 of those guys in a lot of lineups. I think you can have fun with it and play one of them in Melton. You can play one of them in Kyle Anderson. You can play one of them in Tyus. You can go a couple interesting ways there, but that price versus his odds of getting to an upside is very, very low. So
somebody had a good question here about Sexton.
Someone had a good question?
On Super Draft, would you go with Chris or Joval?
I do.
Joval is, I think, 1.35,
Something
1.4.
like that. Valanciunas is 1.4.
Chris is, I think, 1.65.
Because of what I would expect to be a massive ownership differential, because he raw projects and I have him 2 points less and Alex has him 2.5 points less, and I expect Valanciunas to be pretty significantly the highest owned center there. I think people will go to Whiteside before Chris. So in one lineup, I would play Marquise Chris. In a smattering of lineups, I'd probably be about the same. Again, both I and Alex have him between 2 and 3 points projected less. But I think the ownership differential is greater by quite a bit. So I'm a fan in that lineup if you can get to, like, I would prioritize John Morant in that lineup because he is slightly better. So try to have Morant or Brooks instead of Valanciunas and then pivot over to, I think Chris is a fine place.
Does Dellavedova starting hurt or help Sexton?
It helps him, and I expected him to start, and he started the last game, I believe. Right. Didn't he start the last game? No, I gotta look. You've made me doubt myself.
Sorry, is Larry Nance still in play at 7,100 on DK? It's kind of a meow for me. But I need the answer right meow.
Right meow.
Right meow.
Is Larry Nance still in play? Yes, I don't think he's out of play, but it's getting dicey. He's probably going to play 0 minutes at center. That's not exciting for me. It's a 5-game slate. I would have a non-zero amount of Larry Nance, but concern would be appropriate with the role. But I mean, I would literally have 2 Larry Nance lineups. I'd make sure, but I wouldn't want 5% Larry Nance or something.
Right.
Nance coming off the bench. I presume they will start Osman, Chetty, Dellavedova, Love, and Tristan. We may even have seen that as I have fallen off searching the news recently because I was looking at Super Draft things. They are starting the 5 names that I just put out there. Now, you still can get and should get like 28 minutes out of Nance. They've been prioritizing him as a bench option. Porter is still missing. I'm fine with that, but it's dubious.
Favorite play on the night? It's got to be Joval for me.
It's too popular to be my favorite play. Like, my favorite play is the way I take it is as the differential between how owned he's going to be and how owned he should be. So that might be Eric Pascal. Let me look at the ownership again. But
Whiteside or White Snake?
Coverdale? Jeez.
Here I go again. Tawny
Katane on the car? Yeah, okay, we're old.
We may have to bring out the picture for tomorrow's show.
I owned that cassette.
You got me. I only had the CD.
Oh, no, I owned that cassette. Nice gray stone background with the logo and the lightning and the, oh god, it's. I have karaoke'd that song, actually. Point of fact. Okay, so my favorite play on the slate, looking relative to ownership.
Shout out to Super Draft. They are
Valanciunas on DK. We now have second on the slate. Second, and I like him fine, but he's appropriately owned at 41% and some change. That's fine. Tobias Harris, I would have a lot more than there is here. CJ McCollum, I would have 20% of, which would be triple the field. Eric Pascal. Those are probably the 3 players I would see myself being.
Oh, my upload worked.
Pass a stone or something there.
I had a heart attack. No, I eschewed the early game, as in your words, but I wanted to get in the 7:30 lock, so I'm in. I'm good.
Way to go!
Sorry, got a little excited.
I like hearing to use the shoot. That's exciting for me.
You know, I try. We talked about crossover words. That's one that you've given to me. Also rans, by the way, that one is mine. Cast of Thousands, but I think only you and I may know old movie posters, so that one's not really fun to say anymore. The Understudies, that one's mine. You have socks rolling up and down. You have a paucity of value.
paucity. Christian Wood, 4 points, no other stats in 9 minutes. 2 for 7 from the field. Pistons down by 10. And it's gonna take a little bit of the shine off these nice Jazz
All right,
plays.
shout out to Super Draft, 3 spots away from filling their contest.
Three entries away,
as in 1, 2, 3.
Oh, that overlay is
now to be the good and bad. They went 20,000, which is one of their bigger Saturdays, but that's they had been pushing the envelope a little bit on some of their weekday ones. They did 2, I believe, this week of 40,000. I think one was 35, one was 30, which is pushing the envelope again. Yeah. So I'm glad to see them getting traction here.
Yeah, it's always it's one of the things when we have partners or sponsors or for the sites I've worked for in my other jobs. It's kind of a win-win. They're like, well, there was overlay. People love overlay. Or, well, it filled. That's good. They can do it bigger next time. So it's nice.
Yeah, and they've kind of said
George Niang in the game. George Niang in the game, by the way. He plays every day, Mac.
Oh, every day.
Plays every day. The backup 4.
Like clockwork. Yeah. Like clockwork. Hey, let's look at tomorrow's slate. On-air production meeting. We have a boatload of games, Eddie. Do you want to guess how many games we have?
On tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
It's crazy. It's like 10 spread out.
We have 6 starting at, or pardon me, we have 8 starting at 6. If they eschew the 6 o'clock start, we will have 6 starting at 7. I suspect they're going to go with 6 o'clock since there is no football or anything else going on. And it is Oklahoma City at Boston and Milwaukee and Phoenix. So those are some marquee games. Assuming that's what it is, we do have 9:30 tomorrow. We have Sal Vetri and Josh Engelman doing the DFS strategy show for Sunday. So Eddie and I will kibitz off air, but figure out what we want to do here. If we might want to go for 15 minutes early. I think we should.
Okay.
We're not staying on an extra hour for Super Draft. Sorry, Super Draft, if you're watching, but I'm not staying on until 7.
I'm hardcore.
But yeah, we'll stay tuned. We'll see. We got to wait for contests to spawn and generate here, and we'll see what we're going to have. But you're getting us for at least an hour, probably an hour and 15, and then we'll see what Super Draft does. So we are all over the place, Eddie. We'll have to get a trucker's friend.
Sounds good.
Are you aware of what a trucker's friend is?
Yes, I am. Keep you awake.
No. The bladder release.
Oh, like an adult diaper is what we're talking about.
Well, long haul. No, it was like a thing. Did you? I can't remember what movie. There were some horrible 70s movies, and it was not Smokey and the Bandit.
Cannonball Run.
Yeah, Cannonball Run. It wasn't any of those. But there was one movie where, son of a gun. I'll have to look it up. But there was a guy that did. He made a bet with his friend who could drink more beer, and he bought this thing. It was called like the Trucker's Friend, and it was this thing he taped to his thing. Yeah. And it ran down his leg, and there was a reservoir. And I think somehow his friend still beat him. And they were like betting over a girl or something, and whoever peed first, or I don't remember what, or had to go to the bathroom first, lost. The 70s. But you think movies are bad now?
Oh,
no.
I've seen them.
Yeah. All right. With that, we're going to get on out of here, but you can follow Eddie at Fast Eddie Fair. I am at EMAC DFS, and of course, it is Awesemo _COM. Fat gamers, good luck.